For more on this, we're joined now by Samuel Doveri Vesterbye. He's the director of the European Neighbourhood Council. That's a Brussels-based think tank. Thank you very much for your time. First things first, how closely are European nations following developments in Turkey?
Well, I happened to be in Turkey on the night of the coup in Istanbul, and I was regularly in contact with both Ankara and Brussels, trying to get my head around what was going on, giving advice, and at best possible, trying to understand exactly the question of how close is the EU monitoring the situation in Turkey. In the first 3 hours, so Federica Mogherini's statement was about eight minutes past 1. In the first few hours, it was total chaos theory. They had no idea, and it was very difficult for them to know anything. That's why the statement took time. And then within the hours afterwards, delegations have flown directly to Ankara, have been meeting around the clock with people in Istanbul and in Ankara as well, to properly understand exactly what's been going on, who's to blame, what the gravity of the situation is, and what lies ahead.
So what impact could Friday night's events have on Turkey-EU relations in the coming days, weeks and months?
I mean, it's quite obvious that they will have impacts. Already, you can see different responses within the EU in terms of what this coup has meant, this failed coup. I think it's very important to understand that there are many different voices. For example, in the Al Jazeera interview with Erdogan that we were listening to right before, French foreign minister was saying one thing, but if you look at Elmar Brok and if you look at Kati Piri, they're saying other things. They have maybe harsher stances in terms of the prosecution of the bureaucracy and the military. Others, like, for example, the External Action Service and the EU's foreign policy branches, are being more lenient, and they're understanding the importance of Turkey, and they're understanding the importance of both dialogue but also continued negotiation between EU and Turkey.
There are obviously divisions within the European Union over a number of things, particularly as well, Russian sanctions, or the sanctions on Russia. Do you see the EU putting on a united front when it comes to Turkey?
Well, I mean, I think on the range of things that concern all EU countries, which are generally quite favorable to Turkey, which have to do with security, defense, energy, general foreign affairs, and the accession process, yeah, I think they stand reasonably united. But I think it's early days, and I think there's still a lot of talk going on. There's still a lot of things that will have to be decided nationally within Turkey without the consultation of the European Union, because some of these things are national matters that bureaucrats and politicians in Turkey will have to deal with on their own.
Samuel, time is running out, but I do just want to ask you one question about the possible reintroduction of the death penalty. Would that mean accession talks with the EU are completely dead and buried? And also, do you think that many people in Turkey think that that is a price worth paying?
Well, I mean, I think it's quite telling when you look at the Parliament's statement. Elmar Brok, who's the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the European Parliament, he worded his phrase very carefully, and he was critical about the death penalty, and I think most Europeans are in this moment. Let's not forget that Turkey already had this discussion about 16 years ago with the PKK terrorist leader Abdullah Öcalan, and they decided not to use the death penalty. I think it would be wise probably not to introduce it now, but I think the European Parliament, Elmar Brok, has worded his statements very carefully in order for not to close any doors in case they would reintroduce it. In terms of whether it's a price to pay, I doubt it. From a populistic point of view, it might be, but if you take into account all the factors, it's definitely not.
Okay, Samuel, unfortunately I have to interrupt you because we can go back now to Ankara.